I still remember the night everything changed. The kind of night that settles in your bones and refuses to leave. It was October of 1983, back when life felt simpler, quieter, and safer. At least that's what we believed. My friend Daniel had just been promoted in the railway office. He threw a small celebration at his place outside town, and I went with my wife, Alice, and our 6-year-old daughter, Daisy. We stayed longer than we planned, laughing, talking, losing track of time, until the night grew colder, darker, and the road back home felt almost deserted. We were halfway through that lonely highway when my car sputtered, jerked, and died. The engine refused to turn. No cars passed, no lights in sight, only a thin ribbon of asphalt stretching into darkness. I stepped out, popped the hood, and tried to figure out what went wrong. Within a minute, Alice and Daisy got out too, Alice holding Daisy's hand tightly, worried about leaving her in the car alone. That's when Daisy saw it. A doll, lying right near the tree line. Small, old-fashioned, dressed in a faded blue dress. Porcelain face cracked slightly along the cheek, but still strangely beautiful. I didn't even notice it at first, until Daisy gasped softly and ran toward it. "Daisy, leave it!" Alice called. Her voice had that sharp, motherly warning tone, but Daisy hugged it to her chest immediately, as if she had found something precious. "No, sweetheart," I said firmly. "Leave it where it was." But Daisy shook her head with a stubbornness only kids have. "It's cold," she whispered. She was waiting for someone. She? The words scraped down my spine. Alice tried again. "Honey, someone must have dropped it." But Daisy didn't let go. Her small hands tightened around the doll, and she refused to put it back. We didn't want to fight on a dark road, so we let it go, fixed the car, got home, and thought it was the end of it. But it was the beginning. The first strange thing happened soon after the morning came into being. Alice attempted to feed Daisy breakfast, a nutritious bowl of wholesome cereal. A mere simple task, right? However, within a minute of her attempting to give Daisy breakfast, Alice frowned. Upon inquiring, "Did you eat it already?" Daisy responded with a negative head shake. Alice stared into the bowl, noting that it was already void of any food. An empty bowl, no remnants of milk stains, no crumbs. It simply looked like it had never held any form of nourishment before. Alice brushed it off as her own oversight, possibly because she had failed to put the cereal in the bowl. Perhaps she had simply forgotten to do so. Yet she had not. Closely observing her actions, I caught a glimpse of her filling the bowl. The second incident transpired on the following day. Daisy awoke to tears. In a hurry, we rushed to her room, and subsequently frozen. Her hair. Apparently someone had intentionally cut it. It was far from being a messy style of playing with scissors. On the contrary, it was neatly styled, precisely crafted, evenly distributed, as if it had been done so meticulously and purposefully. Alice's face turned pale. "Daisy, who had the audacity to cut your hair?" Daisy looked puzzled. "Nobody, I was sleeping." Her doll leaned against her pillow, its delicate porcelain hands resting neatly on its miniature dress, and to the surprise of everyone, a few strands of Daisy's hair lingered on its fingertips. I endeavored to rationalize it, the occurrence of static. Perhaps the hair had inadvertently fallen off. Maybe it was she who had cut it herself. However, I firmly believed that she had not done so. Then Daisy got sick. Fast. Her energy drained day by day. She grew pale, thin, exhausted. She stopped eating, stopped talking, barely moved except to hold that doll. It stayed in her arms all day, in her bed all night. Sometimes, I thought I heard whispers from her room, soft, childlike, as if someone was talking back. Alice was terrified but trying to stay strong. I kept pretending I wasn't scared. But every night I lay awake, watching Daisy's door, hoping nothing would come out of it. Finally, something inside me snapped. I couldn't watch my daughter waste away. I decided to take the doll back, so I embarked on the journey to the exact location where we had discovered it. The road was quiet to the verge of stillness. Even during daylight, it felt as though something was off, as if the air itself seemed to carry some kind of memory. As I continued to walk closer toward the trees, An elderly man who recently lived in a cabin nearby stepped out of his porch into the sunlight. "Are you looking for something in particular?" he asked. I responded with a nod, holding up the doll that I had found. He seemed to stare at it for some time before he whispered, "You shouldn't have taken that from her." A sudden cold wind suddenly hit the back of my neck, making my skin prickle. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. "That doll once belonged to a little girl, a seemingly innocent beggar who played around this very road." My chest tightened suddenly, making my heart race. He continued, speaking gently. "She was tragically killed right there on the same night you drove by." My stomach dropped to the floor suddenly. Then he added softly, "Her mother searched frantically for her for hours after the accident, but the doll was gone from her sight completely." My mind was already racing in a whirl of thoughts. The loss of innocence, the road where tragedy had occurred, and the little girl who had played with the doll. But for all I knew, that beggar could still be searching for her somewhere near that very road. I made sure to place the doll precisely where Daisy had found it, on the harsh, cold dirt by the trees, and turned back towards my car without looking back. I didn't want to think about if someone might be watching there to pick up the clues to my discovery. I left the doll there where it was and continued on my way, leaving the old man's words with me. When I returned home, I froze in the doorway. Daisy was in the living room, laughing softly, playing, not alone. A little girl sat on the floor across from her, knees folded neatly under a torn blue dress, the same dress the doll had worn. Her hair matted, her skin pale, a thin red mark across her forehead, the mark of a car's bumper. Alice stood in the kitchen doorway, trembling. "Do you see her too?" she whispered. I nodded slowly, my throat dry, my heart hammering. Daisy smiled brightly, the first real smile we'd seen in weeks. "Daddy," she said, "this is Emily. She came to get her doll." The little girl turned toward me, her head tilting, her lips forming a soft, broken smile. And then, just like that, she vanished. No sound, no burst of light, just silence, complete silence. Daisy looked around, confused. "Daddy, Emily said she'll come back if we lose the doll again." My blood turned to ice. We had returned the doll, but the connection wasn't gone. Not anymore. Maybe not ever. And at times, some nights, while the house finds itself too tranquil, I persistently hear Daisy issuing a whisper, directed towards someone who is in fact not present there. An individual sitting down on the floor, marking their position with a blue dress. Simultaneously, they are patiently waiting.